Hey everyone, my name is Laura. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a tutorial for making a cabochon wrapped pendant. This is a really nice, simple, easy tutorial. Brilliant for beginners, brilliant for someone starting out, wanting to gain confidence with their designs of working with cabochons and just creating fun pendants really. So I'm just going to show you, we actually do create this pendant here, which is bare copper with a moss agate pendant. So that's that one. I'm just going to show you the back quickly. Okay, nice, quick, simple and easy. The next one, we're not actually going to show you, but just samples of variations. This is the same, it's done exactly the same technique, except for it's on a smaller scale and on a labradorite. So you can see, same design. This is just slightly different because I ran out of wire on this one. And also because of the size of the gemstone as well, which I do talk about during the tutorial. But basically, you know, this is the same technique. And then we have just again slight variations. This is again with the point down nearly the same. But I use the excess wires to create a sort of embellishment around the edges of the gemstone. Again, this is a labradorite and this is using silver plated wire. Just turn it around for you. It's done very slightly differently, as you can see, but that is what will happen when you work with wire. The wires will go in different directions. And then finally, just as a little bit of a challenge, just to show you that it can be done on a different orientation. This is the same kind of technique. This is using a howlite pendant, cabochon, sorry, and silver plated wire. Doing a pendant in this direction is a little bit trickier because obviously you have to deal with the point. Again, I do touch on that in the tutorial. Just wanted to show you the variations. So I hope you like this video. I will be doing more of these kinds of videos and tutorials, but for now, I hope you enjoy. Okay, let's get started. So for this project, you are going to need the following. A nice tear-shaped cabochon, some 0.8 wire, some round nose pliers, some flat nose pliers, some flush cutters and some chain nose pliers or snipe nose pliers. It depends on what you call them. I personally call them chain nose pliers. You could use side cutters, but I personally prefer to use flush cutters. They give a cleaner finish and they are easier to use. So what we're going to do is I'm going to remove all of these. I apologise about the state of my tools, but they are clearly well loved. So I've already cut my lengths of wire and I have got approximately about 50 centimetres of my 0.8 wire, 2 lengths of that. Now it will vary depending on the size of the gemstone that you're going to be using. So I've got a labradorite pendant here that I've wrapped, which as you can see is considerably smaller than this one, which is a moss agate, a green moss agate cabochon. I've got a howlite gemstone just here, and then I've got another labradorite just here. So you can see these are all done on the same sort of premise. Just once you get your confidence up a little bit, you can just have a play about and see how the design evolves. Don't be afraid to play with the wire, and you know, always remember that at the end of the day, you can cut the wire off. It's only wire. You can start again or you can add. It's up to you. Just want to have that confidence. So this, as I said, is a beginner, what I would class as a beginner project. I'm going to remove these out of the way and we'll get started. Now, the reason that I said a teardrop style gemstone is because they are easier to catch if you set them in this orientation with the point going downwards, because naturally it tapers to a point, so it's going to be a lot easier to catch this gemstone. Now I did do one just to show you how you can do it with the gemstone in the opposite direction, but this one's a bit trickier because you have to really wrap the top of the gemstone to catch and stabilize this part here. Okay, I will do a little tutorial on this one though another time. For now, let's move back to this one. So as I said, we're going to set it with the orientation going down. So I'm going to take both of my wires and I'm going to use them as if they were one wire. I'd like them to stay next to each other. I don't want them to, if I can just show you, cross at any point. It's ideal if you can keep them parallel. That would just make the look a little bit nicer. Okay, So I'm going to come down quite low. I'm finding the centre of my 2 lengths of wires, sorry. So I'm holding them as one. I'm finding the centre point of the wires and I'm placing it across the gemstone. I am then going to pick up the gemstone, place this in my hand, and I'm just going to mould that wire behind the gemstone. Okay. I'm then taking the wire that's at the front. I'm going to bring that all the way again around and moulding that to the gemstone as close as you can. And I'm just going to turn it around to make sure, because you can see there, those sneaky wires have tried to cross. Straighten that out. Pop it back across. I'm going to come all the way, and I'm holding this really tight to the gemstone. Sorry, just I could actually feel that those wires had crossed. So coming back up, and again, you can see I'm really pushing that wire nice and close to that gemstone. I'm then going to hold this wire with my opposite hand and just turn to create almost like a little sort of prong almost. Bring the wire down across the back. Okay, and I will show you now. I'm going to turn it over, and you can see I'm making sure that it's still got a good section of that gemstone, because if I had it up here it could slip out of place. So I really want to make sure I'm getting across that surface of the gemstone and really catching it into place. Okay, turning it back. So now I'm going to come back to these wires here, because I've got a pair of wires at the top already. So now I need to work out how to get these to the top and how to do that in a sort of a nice non-chaotic way. Pulling this nice and tight again, what I'm going to do is just making sure that I keep everything in place, because every time you move with the wires, something will alter. Okay, whether it's the position. So there we go. That was because the gemstone itself had moved. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back down around the bottom of the gemstone, turn the piece over. Now I'm going to, with my hand, just bring this wire straight across the back, so you can see. Now I'm actually going, the moment it's going across the back of all the wires. Oops, sorry. I'm going to just switch it so it goes under that top pair of wires. Okay, just because visually it'll look a little bit nicer. Okay, turning the piece back over. I now have wires in the exact place that I need them to be able to create my bail. Okay, I'm just going to tweak the bottom of this. I quite like opening the wires out a little bit. I think it just looks pretty. Okay, so now the wire that is from this movement, I'm going to bring it across the front of the gemstone so that it will be able to connect with this pair of wires and create a complete piece. Okay, so holding this all in place, what I'm going to do again, I'm holding everything, you'll notice, quite firmly, just holding it all so it stays where it's meant to be. So what I'm going to do is bring this around. Now I don't really want to go too close to this, because what will happen is it will slip around the gemstone. So I'm trying to get sort of just below where that stone starts to curve, keeping these central, because they will become the bail. So obviously if they're off, then your bail will be off. And I'm going to just take these wires, again holding that now with my thumb to secure it, across. Make sure you're happy with the location of the back wires, and hook. What I've done is hooked. So I'm now just going to take that wire all the way around and set that into place, and there's your stone. Now what's interesting is, because this gemstone is larger, that is the exact same movement that I did on this gemstone. So you can see, look, it's exactly the same there, 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 there. But because of the difference of the size of the gemstone, obviously this one is a lot more open and you've seen a lot more of detail, whereas this one's looking a lot more covered. So obviously that is something to take into consideration when you are working with your project. You might find that that's more than enough of a design for a gemstone like this, because it's a smaller gemstone. You may feel you want to add more detail along here. That's something that you're welcome to do. It is, again, as I said, encouraging you to sort of use your initiative and just see what happens. Now, I have also got quite a lot of wire left for the bail, so there's nothing to say that these wires won't come down and make some kind of decoration there. It's an option that I could consider. What I'm going to do now is take one of these wires. I'm actually going to go ahead and take the top wire. So you can see out of the pair of wires that wrapped these wires, I'm going for the top wire just because visually it's going to work better. I'm going to come in with my flat nose pliers. Just straighten that up. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to do a wrap. I'm going to do a free bail wrap. So what I'm going to do is take my bail making pliers. Sorry, I forgot to mention them at the beginning of the video, but yes, we will be using bail making pliers or anything that you will be able to use to create a bail. I mean, this is a little tiny lip thing that I got with a subscription box. You could use that. As long as it's solid, as long as it's not going to buckle when you use it. A pencil, as long as it's round, obviously, or a pen. Anything you want. But I personally, I'm going to use my bail making pliers. These are the largest ones. These are an 8mm and a, 8mm and a 6mm diameter. And I tend to always normally use the larger size. I'm now going to turn this to the side and just using my thumb or using some kind of pressure, I'm just going to gently bring the wires forward towards the front of the pendant. This is so that when I actually put the pliers in and rotate it towards the back, I will get a nice round bail. Make sure your wires are stayed where they were meant to. Pop your pliers in just a little bit higher, and we're just going to roll that around. Okay. All right, now that wire is a bit short, but it should be fine. Now what I'm going to do again is I'm going to come in with my my flat nose pliers, and I'm just going to give this wire a little bit of a kick. Just get it so that you can see exactly what I mean. So, one in. Okay, sorry, it's just struggling to focus a little bit. Ah, that's better. Just move you out a tiny bit. There we go. Sorry about that. So I'm just turning my hand, and can you see now how we've got that and it meets nicely there? Okay, so turn it to the front, you can see, and to the side. The wire that we didn't use as part of the bail, I'm going to take that and wrap it to lock everything in place. Nice and tidy. And that can stay there, and that can be used to make a spiral if you want to, or keep it nice and clean if you want to. It's completely up to you. I'm not going to make any decisions just yet. I'm going to keep it there, and I'm going to come around and work on these back wires. So what I want to do now is take my chain nose pliers. Now this little wire here isn't really very much good. It's not going to be able to do anything. So what I'm going to do is just fold it very sharply up. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with my cutters, and I'm just going to trim that nice and short, probably about 1/2 centimetre. And I'm just going to push that up into the wrap. And then I'm going to again come in with the cutters and just really trim that down so it really sort of, hopefully it would just kind of disappear. Can you see that? And to the side. And it's nice. Feel it with your, you know, make sure you handle your piece, make sure there's no sharp edges. There's no sharp edges there. So now obviously I've got these wires here. I've got 1 and 2. So this is where we can go back. And as I said, if you did feel you wanted to fill this in with any kind of decoration, then you can. I'm just going to reference back to the labradorite one. This one, as you can see here, I placed this section a little bit higher. Again, the gemstone was smaller. So I actually took one of these bail wires that we're using now, and I'll turn it around to show you, and you can see it just here, and I brought that around to give that extra stability here. I then brought it back up and blended it back into the bale. So, you know, if you feel that there are vulnerable spots of your gemstone that might need to be secured, then that's how you can do that. So going back to this particular piece, I'm going to have a look. I'm going to have a little feel, see how it's looking. What I am going to do, if you can see here, see that it's quite loose around the gemstone. I'm now going to come in with my flat nose pliers. I'm going to just lift these out of the way. They're okay at the moment. And I'm just going to come in with my flat nose pliers, bring them in between the wire, and just again turn my hand. And can you see how that's tightened that and made it really hug the gemstone? And from the front, it's not changed it from the front, it's just made it again look a bit tidier. So I'm going to come back in again and mirror that. So that's looking nice, but can you see as a consequence, this has moved a little bit now, so that means that I can now come in. What I might do is come to this piece here and just pull this around, but because tightening that will also tighten this, because it's all same with the part, it's all part of the same wire, it's all done the same journey. Turn to the front. Now I can see that there's a bit of movement just here. Now these are a different set of wires, they're coming across here. So again, I'm going to come just along here and really pull that quite tight if you feel you need to. As long as you can make it look nice and tidy. Now what's happened is my wires have just crossed, and that will bug me. We all have our little bugbears, and that is mine. So I've just used my hands just to straighten that. And you can just come back in and you can just really make sure you're happy with that. That's all nice and secure across the front. Now, just because visually these are all twisted, I'm going to twist these wires just to blend in with the design more than anything. So now it all looks quite intentional across the back. And again, it's adjusted the front a little bit, and that's fine. We can just make sure we're happy with that. Coming across, play with the design a bit, and obviously make sure that that hasn't moved. Now, what's happened here is there's a bit of movement, and that's absolutely fine, but I mean, your stone isn't going to go anywhere. But you have to look at this as a potential buyer or the recipient of this potential piece of jewellery, and if they pick it up and they sense any kind of movement, instantly it's going to put them a little bit, they're going to be a little bit uneasy about that. They may think that it may not be secure. So we have these wires. So this is where we can come back now and secure it, which is what I did actually do with the other gemstone. I'm going to come all the way across because I have a bigger area, and I've got both my wires on this one, and I'm just going to simply bring that to here, and I'm at a nice point where I can tuck these wires, trim them, and just tuck them underneath these because they're slightly lifted. See that little bit of a gap there? I can use that to my advantage. So I'm going to trim them, and then I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers. Oopsie. And I am going to just gently fold them around, and they're tucked under there. Now for me, the back is now a little bit sort of lifted, so I feel I'm just going to take some nylon pliers and just gently go across the whole piece and flatten to secure it. Okay, now by doing that again, I can see that the end wires of what I've just done have come out, and that's fine. I can just come in now and tidy that up a little bit. Oops, where are you going? Now I do have these pliers here, which are Zurons, and they are tweezer pliers, and they're absolutely brilliant because they're so fine and detailed. They really get in when you need them to. You can obviously use your chain nose pliers, but sometimes, there we go, see how much easier that made my life. Now again, so this is something that will take a little bit of a couple of times of just going over, making sure you're happy with that design, making sure you're happy with how it's developing. And let me just give this a little tweak here to just tighten that up there. And get in there. And I think we're pretty good to go. That's That's your gemstone. So now you have two options. Now what I'm going to do just quickly is open out the bail. 1, 2, 3. Just using my nails or your pliers will do that. Now again, this is an option. You can either keep it plain or you can spiral it. And to be honest, what I would say is if you're unsure, do a spiral, place it. If you don't like it, you can simply cut it back to that stage because you know you like it like that. So it's not a problem to have a quick look at what it looks like with a spiral and then make that decision. So to make a spiral, I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to come right in at the end of that wire. If you do have a longer length of wire, because you may have worked with longer lengths, just cut it to about an inch, inch and a quarter. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to come quite towards the end of my pliers. Just come right in, keep that quite flush. And I'm just going to bend that round into a starting of a sort of a J almost. Repositioning my pliers so I can grip them again and bringing that around. Really catching the tail, because with a spiral it's very important to make sure you get this one little bit right and then the rest will be so easy. It just really needs to be curled, otherwise you end up with what we affectionately call an egg. And it sometimes just doesn't look as good. I'm just going to straighten. So I just literally snipped the end of that wire to make that a little bit neater. And then I can bring that around. And I'm just using my pliers, I'm opening and sort of gripping that to roll it. And now what I'm going to do is take my flat nose pliers again and roll. So when I'm doing that, I'm opening my pliers, placing them, rolling the spiral and opening them and letting go. This is a good little tip because it stops you marking wire if you're using plated or coloured wires. So I'm going to just see how I like that. I don't know if I liked it with or without, to be honest. I think I'm going to go without. So if I don't like that, it's very simple for me to be able to just bring that back. And I don't even have to undo the whole spiral. I can just come in and just very slightly, just going slightly past the bail, can you see? And then I'm going to come back in with my tweezer pliers and just really tuck that behind. So it's just inside the bail. There. And there you have your finished pendant. So quick, so easy, and yeah, very effective. Now I've used bare copper for this one. I've used silver plated for this one, silver plated for this one, and bare copper for this one. But all gauges that I've used are 0.8, just because I feel it's got a little bit more strength and stability in it than if you were to use a 0.6. I feel that the 0.8 grips the stone a little bit stronger, and that it will actually, you know, hold the shapes that you're creating. So yeah, I hope you like this project. I look forward to seeing you have a go. Give me a shout if you get stuck. Please leave comments. Subscribe. I will be doing more tutorials, and yeah, have a great day.